2 years. And when they realize that that's why they're manifesting or creating what they're currently creating, you can help them find their heart and get them to take action so that they're not just constantly thinking about what's the next steps. Like, give me all the steps that I need to take if they're not taking any. So it kind of like unlocks people's full potential. I know we talk about it as the universal leadership tool, but when you understand coaching, you can get people to take action that's in congruence with what they want to create, but it also helps benefit the team. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of like when everything kind of like falls into alignment because you're able to help them up here when you're not in front of them too.
How many times have we shared the after picture without sharing how long the journey was? This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in. All right, friends, welcome back to your push coach. My name is Josh. I am your push coach, and I'm excited to hang out with you guys today. I have got one of my favorite guests on the show today. He's the co-creator of the life coach certification that I have. And he's really the only reason I have a life coach certification. So Marc was originally in my groups way back in the day where I originally taught the curriculum behind my life coach certification inside of a group called Push Leader. But at the time I was like, guys, I want to create the content because I know the world needs it, but I do not have the structure or the capacity to oversee this because if I'm going to do a certification, it's got to be legit. And there's got to be some like serious structure to it. There's got to be some serious accountability. And I've got to know that when we give someone a certification, they actually earned it. It was not the case with the certification that I went through, even though I earned it. Didn't feel like really anyone else in the room did. And that was frustrating for me. I said, I will never have a program like that. So fast forward a couple of years ago, my boy went and got himself certified through Brooke Castilla's life coach school. Yeah, that's what it's called. And came back to me, told me about it. And I said, you know what? I've had this whole life coach certification on the back burner forever. And you literally are like the king of structure and organization and like oversight. We should just team up on this. And I think Marc said hell yeah or something like that. He doesn't cuss as often as I do, but I think it was a resounding like hell yeah, let's do this. So without further ado, I have we call him the head master coach in our program, Marc Hildebrand. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing amazing, man. Do you treat all your guests like this? I feel like I'm on cloud 9, bro.
I don't know. Do I? I mean, I hope I hope I treat everyone this well because, you know, that's just a part of who I try to be. But you're really special. You are really special, man. And we've done 2 rounds now of the life coach certification. I think we've graduated like 82, 83 people.
I think it's 84. Yeah.
84 people. Just so freaking, which, you know, I know is not like a huge number in comparison to like the 40,000 entrepreneurs that I've trained. But this is like a totally different ballgame, right? I mean, like you did my old trainings, which I hope were great. I mean, you did like 20 of them, so you must have liked them. But like, let's take just a second before we dive into some of the stuff we're going to talk about today and compare like the value factor of like course program stuff versus the life coach certification. Like tell me from your experience doing lots of courses and programs, I know even with other entrepreneurs and things like that, versus what we've put together in a certification, like what's the difference?
Oof, that's a great question. So I love both. There's like not one right or wrong way of doing it.
Totally.
But when it comes to certifications, what I really love, or at least what I wanted to be a part of a certification if I was going to be putting it on, is not only just teaching like the elements, not giving people just the action and really structurizing it, if that's a word, structurizing it for people so that they can actually have a philosophy that kind of go from A to Z, right? So they can really just have a step-by-step system, but also putting people into an environment to practice it. Because here's the thing, like a lot of people go through courses and they think that, oh, because I went through this course, like I'm naturally going to start doing this.
Right.
And they don't. And what you realize when you actually go through a certification like this is how like just being able to coach in this program, by the way, how many of our people reached out to us and said, like, I love the fact that I'm a life coach, but I think it was just amazing to get on with other individuals and get coached because it helped me have a huge personal transformation that now on the other side, I can actually help people through. But it's just like the art of actually practicing it and then having an instructor there who can give you that direction of like, maybe you could have went this way or this way. It's just like an aha moment, because then you feel so much more confident when you actually go out into the real world and start to practice on your own.
Right. And that's why I needed you, Mark, because I knew I did not, it's not in my personality type to create all of the structure and accountability. It's like I've said this 1,000 times. I love to coach people. I do not love to watch people be coached. I would lose my mind.
Right.
You know, I'm just like, I have to be like in motion. Whereas Mark, that's like his passion. He loves overseeing things and like watching everybody else coach and like watching it all come together. So I take more of a teaching role in the program. Mark does a combination of the teaching as well as the oversight. And that was really, I was like, I am not going to put together something that sends people out into the world with a certification that haven't proved that they've spent enough time behind the scenes practicing this. And so I think that's where our hearts met up, because you were like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like I want to have people on calls practicing with each other, you know? And so really you get like 3 months of free life coaching from other people, right?
Yep.
While you're also doing hands-on. And I think the world just needs more hands-on training.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what it is. Like, I think that's why like tech schools and stuff like that are starting to really blow up, because give an 18-year-old like to put his hands on something versus read this in a book. So like the certification is less of here's a bunch of stuff you should know and more of we're going to have you practice this until you have mastered it. And then we're going to send you out in the world ready to rock.
I love that.
So let's talk about the thing that I love to talk about is coaching versus mentoring, because this is like I've always said that coaching is like the magical unicorn. Everybody's heard of it, but they really don't even know what it is. And we have a lot of people online that call themselves coaches. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. It's a word that you can use however you want. But when we're talking about life coaching, we're not talking about what most people think. So the word that I like to compare it to the most is mentoring. Because most people, for instance, that call themselves a financial coach are really just people that have learned enough about finances to then teach on it and mentor other people to do what they have done. Like mentoring is essentially teaching something you've already done and then helping other people to implement this thing that you already know that you have already done, right? We wanted to talk, and we're actually splitting this into 2 episodes because we got a lot of stuff that we want to cover. So episode 1, we're going to talk a little bit about the mentoring side of things. Hang around. I believe we're going to try to knock this out. I'm going to try to get my podcast producer to put out episode 1 on Monday, episode 2 on Wednesday. So you don't got to wait a week for this. You're just going to like wait 2 days. But we wanted to kind of like shorten it up a little bit because it's a lot. What is, first of all, the difference between mentoring and coaching?
I love that. And there's actually specific times that you want to be one or the other. And the best is like to become the best of both. So I know you kind of were talking about, there's a lot of people online who call themselves coaches. I was one of them. For like 7 years, I was what I term a coach, and I was more like a cheerleader or, hey, here's what I've been able to accomplish. Let me give you the path that I followed, which is awesome because it gives you a place to start, right? And so using mentoring is like, this is what I've done in the past. This is how I've been able to succeed, or this is how I've been able to help other people succeed. And you give people like this road map. Now, what's kind of like I got into some trouble was I have different experiences in my past. I have different beliefs. I have different like thoughts about things that I've done in the past. And I didn't realize that just telling people what to do wasn't necessarily the solution, because most of them wouldn't do it. And so I realized like there's a missing piece here. And I was in a lot of your groups, right? And I realized that when I got off a call with you, I was like, dude, I'm like on fire. I would go out, I would take massive action, and I would come back to you and I'd be like, hey, this is what I've been able to. And what I didn't realize is that you were actually using some of the elements of life coaching to really like help me reprogram what was going on in here that would typically have held people back. So what I like to differentiate is like, mentoring is great, but you have to have experienced or gone through something or helped somebody go through something in the past.
Yeah.
But when you talk about life coaching, you don't have to experience that. As a matter of fact, all you have to do is show people what's going on in between their 2 ears. And when they realize that that's why they're manifesting or creating what they're currently creating, you can help them find their heart and get them to take action so that they're not just constantly thinking about what's the next steps. Like, give me all the steps that I need to take if they're not taking any. So it kind of like unlocks people's full potential. I know we talk about it as the universal leadership tool, but when you understand coaching, you can get people to take action that's in congruence with what they want to create, but it also helps benefit the team. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of like when everything kind of like falls into alignment because you're able to help them up here when you're not in front of them too.
Yeah, I love that. And you said something really, really, really important in there. You said you're able to coach them when they're asking for more to do, but they haven't really done the thing that they already know. Mm-hmm. And this is like our human nature is to want to know, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? And if you're out there mentoring people, whether it's business like what we do, or, you used to be a health and fitness coach. So, there's lots of people out there coaching on health and fitness or finance. There's like 1,000 different things people are coaching on right now, right? One of the hardest things to do is to resist the urge to give people more things to do when they haven't actually taken action yet, right? But when you don't know how to coach, that's all there is to do, right? Like if you don't know how to pull back the layers and say, whoa, hold up a second. I know you're asking me for more to do, but let's go back to the thing we already talked about that you're not doing, and let's have a discussion about why you're not taking action on this thing you already know. There's always a couple layers deep in there of their belief system that's actually holding them back. And if we don't address that thing, giving people more things to do when they don't have the mental and emotional capacity to do what they already know is actually more damaging than it is helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say like, so I was recently listening to, I don't remember if it was a podcast or a video, and they were talking about implementing like life coaching into various different other businesses. Yeah. And see, here's the greatest opportunity we have with life coaching is like, if you've done mentoring before and you're trying to get people to take action and they're not taking any action, adding a life coaching component literally will help people get massive results. I know we talk about like we certify coaches and leaders so they can be equipped to help their clients and their team get massive results, right? Well, this person was like an accountant and they married accountant with life coaching. So they're like, here's how you'd save, here's all the things. And then they get into like, okay, but what do you really think about money? What do you believe about money? So when you say money is blank, what comes up for you? So they're literally helping them with the actions, right? Like what to do, but then also unlocking this. How many accountants out there are doing that? Right. Very few. You literally set yourself on a different level when you start to do that. So when you were talking about that, I'm like, it's like one of those great opportunities that by implementing this into your whatever business or whatever life that you currently have right now, it literally helps you like take whatever you're trying to do to the next level.
I love that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, like there's the reality is whatever it is we're trying to mentor people around is something that we probably used to struggle with. And these people wouldn't be paying us money to learn it unless they were struggling with it. Mm-hmm. And I think like, we just are like, well, I'm just going to tell them what I did. But in the process, you forget about all the things you learned along the way, all of the like limiting beliefs you had to overcome on that path and on that journey. And it's like, there's this huge gap, kind of like our belief bridge. There's this huge gap of internal transformation that needed to happen for you to get this external transformation, whatever that was, right? Mm-hmm. And some people were able to find that through reading a bunch of books. Some people were able to find that through doing a bunch of their own personal growth or through mentors or coaching or like whatever. But the reality is, I think that when we go to teach people how to get the results we got, we kind of try to fast forward them through the internal journey we went on and just give them like the external stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we are frustrated that they don't get the same results we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that they aren't doing it. I told them they should do this and they're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you told them what to do. What else is going like? And I think that's the frustration that I hear most leaders have. I told them what to do. They're not doing it.
Yes, that and like kind of getting resentful for actually leading them, right? It's like I've given them all these things. And you start to hear that I'm taking away from my family and giving to them, and they're not taking action. And then what do? You like give them more actions to take. By the way, guilty of that multiple times, right?
Right.
And you don't realize that it actually makes you feel like resentful towards them. And who wants to have a leader who feels resentful towards them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's such a great point. So what are some other things, you kind of just brought up one, but what are some things that you used to do wrong as a mentor that you see others doing a lot?
Ooh. So, of course, like telling people what to do, coaching the action line is what we kind of like call it.
Yeah.
When they're not taking action and making it mean something about us as the leader. Like, I think that is something that so many people do. I mean, literally, I got off a 626 call this morning and they were making things mean something on the outside, right? Of the facts, if you're using the push method, they were making that mean something about them as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. One of them was like, this makes me not a good mom.
Wow.
I'm like, when your head voice says that if you do that, or if you don't have any kind of response, you're not a good mom, you're not going to be doing that more often. Your head is going to try and trap you into not taking those actions. And here's the thing, giving people the step-by-step is not going to help them get through that. As a matter of fact, I was talking to them today because you guys don't know this, but Josh literally put the most incredible structure together on a workshop that you could give that like people are giving them inside of the group. And they're like, I don't know, like people are reaching out to me and asking me, how do I sign up with me after this workshop? Right. But there's a certain members of the group are like not doing it, right? They're not taking those actions. And so I brought out today, I'm like, hey guys, what is holding you back from taking action on this workshop? And can I tell you that out of the 20 plus people who are there was 20 plus different answers because it flows through their limiting beliefs. I can't teach somebody, I can't mentor somebody if I actually don't know what's holding them back. Right. And some people maybe have a past experience that's holding them back. Some of them may have like lack, maybe problems with money or problems in previous businesses. Yep. And if I can't like get in there and find out what's holding them back, it doesn't matter how many more actions that I'm going to take. Yeah. And so it's just perfect like example of like, you can have 10 different conversations and find out 10 different things that are holding people back. And that's why as a coach, if you are, really focusing on true coaching, you can actually unlock that for them. And then they can go do the webinar and they can have like freaking incredible, crazy results. And they attribute it to me. And I'm like, no, I just restructured your brain from instead of focusing on head voice, focusing on the heart.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that we've gotten really good at is partnering together where in the 626 program, I teach a lot of the action stuff. And then they have regular coaching calls with Marc and our other master coaches to get coaching around the limiting beliefs that are holding them back from actually doing this stuff. So it's something I've kind of always done a little of myself, gone in and out of teaching mode and coaching mode, but now because of partnering with Marc, it's really cool. Like I show up and I just do the teaching, and there's still some coaching that usually happens like at the end as questions come up, right? But then there's these literally dedicated days where Marc shows up. He doesn't try to teach anything about how to make an extra sale. He's just coming on and saying, all right, guys, here's what Josh taught you this week. Now, what's standing in your way? Like when Josh said, I want you to go create this workshop, what in your head is holding you back from either taking that action or is making you do something we call unaligned action, which means you're forcing the action instead of letting it flow. And then that's a really important thing for us is we believe that you truly manifest good stuff, not just when you do good stuff, but when you do the things that you are like literally connected to your heart and aligned in doing. So there's like positive energy and excitement and expectation coming from your action, not just I'm going to do it because Josh said so. And if I don't, I'm a bad student. That's not going to get you good results.
Mm-hmm. And that is so powerful right there. You can take the same action. You can use the same amount of time. You can put in the same amount of effort and you can have totally different results. One could be like, I'm just checking the box on the tracker, just getting this done so I can go do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Or ask you like, what about you doing this right now is so important or meaningful to you? Like, what kind of hope do you want to put out into the world right now? Who's out there that's like struggling, right? They're like, they don't have any hope. They're like, I don't think this is possible for me, that you can actually come across their newsfeed when they needed you the most. And when you think about that, it takes you the same amount of time to send the messages, but it's just a entirely different energy, right? Like you say, when the fire goes on the eyeballs, it doesn't take any more time. It's just coming from a different energy.
Yep. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. So one last thing, and then we're going to cut it off for this episode, but we will keep this conversation going because I want to talk a little bit more about like what coaching. We're talking a little bit about, a little bit of mixture of mentoring coaching, but in this next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about like just the coaching side of it. But I want to answer this one last question before we pause and have a recess. What are some of the dangers of mentoring instead of coaching?
So we kind of talked a little bit about some of them, like being resentful and actually quitting, making like, let's say somebody else's lack of action means something about you, and it gets you back into your normal, what we term buffering activities, like not taking those actions, not being that inspiration, not being like living with your purpose. And here's the thing, we were talking about this today. What you don't realize is when you focus on your head voice and when you're like trying to mentor people and they're not taking action, it's very easy for us to convince ourselves not to even try anymore. And we don't realize it, but it has a ripple effect through our whole life. I remember like even getting on a call with you when you were talking about, John Maxwell books and things like that, like when you started. After I would get off, I would even become a better father. I would become a better husband. I would become a better police sergeant. I would become a better coach, because it's when you like really understand those philosophies of life coaching, you can unlock that for people. It's just like that idea of like hope of like, hey, you can actually live within your purpose with what you're doing right now. And when you get stuck into giving people the actions and you're like starting to feel resentful, it actually starts to flow through your life too. So there's so many different things that I could talk about, but that one was the one that's dearest to me, because you know how I'm like all about family, right? Yeah. Whatever you're doing in business, whatever I'm doing in my police field, literally carries over to everything else that I touch. And so when I was just mentoring, I could take those feelings with me and I would take them into different areas, because I thought it meant something about me as a leader. I thought it meant something about me as a coach. I thought it meant something about whatever, but in reality, it doesn't. It just had to do with their limiting beliefs that they had. And I think what was the most frustrating is I didn't have a solution to help them. I didn't have a way to unlock it. Yeah. And it was crazy because I would just talk negatively to myself and I would actually put myself out there less. And it was just that skill that I needed to develop. And once I got it, I was like, man. And then you go back and you look at all the times when it's actually worked for you, right? And then you're like, man, I wish I would have learned this earlier.
Well, here's another powerful point that I just want to make. A couple of years ago, I mean, you guys can tell from listening to Marc talk, the dude's got a lot of confidence. I mean, like, he gets on a call with me. And we've done this many times because we run programs together and we've literally done workshops and launches together. And no one would ever question whether or not Marc belongs on the stage with me. And that's not to like toot my own horn. I'm just saying, like, dude's a badass. But before he learned life coaching, he was a health and fitness coach who was making, I mean, I don't want to like throw out your own like personal numbers or anything, but was making far from a full-time income. And as you can hear, the passion and confidence that he has, honestly, you can rewind back 4 to 5 years in my training groups. He had that same passion and that same energy. The difference is he didn't have the tools to like truly hone into like actually helping people in such a powerful way that created that demand. And now he's the co-creator of my life coach certification. He's now a master coach. He charges 10 times now for his one-on-one coaching of what he used to be able to charge for like his online accountability group. So like, I just want to like throw that out there, that there's some of you listening to this that you're like, I feel like I'm good at this. Like, like if you could like separate yourself for a second from the results, which is sometimes hard to do, but deep inside, you're like, I know I'm good at this. Like whatever it is you do, like I know I'm good at teaching. I know I'm good at, like, I'm an inspirational person. Like I know I have good things to say. But sometimes, having good things to say and having even good energy and good charisma doesn't really matter if you can't solve these deep-rooted issues and know that you have the exact tool that helps people. Because the cool thing about life coaching, if I walk away and someone doesn't end up getting results, I'm like, that's 100% on them, because I know for a fact that life coaching dug down to the deeper issues and they just decided not to deal with those, and that's on them. There's literally nothing I can do at that point, right? But like what you said, when you can only coach the action line, in other words, when you only know how to help people do more, just do more and do this and do that. I think, tell me if I'm right, Mark, I think there's something literally on the inside that is like, I feel like there's something more I should be helping them with. And you don't know, you're not consciously aware of what that is, because maybe you didn't even know what life coaching was until today or whatever, but you feel deep down like there is an element that's missing in your mentorship, and that's what makes you feel bad about the fact that you're not helping them.
100%. And I can actually remember to the time when I first realized that was when you were teaching in the Push Leader like 3 or 4 years ago, when you were starting to put together like your version of the Push Coach certification school back then, just by teaching us. And I remember like learning that idea of belief drives behavior, which is probably what we're going to be talking about on the next episode. When I like started to understand that, I'm like, this is the missing piece. And it wasn't because there's something wrong with me. It wasn't because I wasn't good. It's just, I had never developed the skill. It was just, I never had learned that. And when you brought that up, I was like, that is a game changer. And I started to look at things differently. Instead of feeling resentful from people not taking action, I kind of felt like, a little bit of like empathy, like, oh, they must be going through something right now. Something hard must be tugging on them that I don't even know about. I'm blind to. And it's just a complete game changer when you realize, and you can do that 180 and go, oh, I just want to get curious to see how I can help this person. It's a game changer.
Dude. And that right there is a beautiful thing when you go from resenting people to feeling empathy for them. That alone, that energy shift will change everything. But it's hard to have empathy for people when you don't know the deep-rooted issues and how to solve that. So, Mark, thanks for hanging with us. We're going to do another episode, guys. Stick around. If you're listening to this on Monday, the next one will be out on Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit more about what coaching is, but we also want to give you an invite. Myself and Mark are hosting a 2-day event this week. If you're listening to this live, if it's a year later, you might just go to the website, see what else is going on. But this coming weekend, we're hosting a 2-day event for anyone that's interested in becoming a life coach. And we're actually going to do some hands-on training. So this isn't going to be just like show up and, do a webinar and at the end we try to sell you. We're literally going to spend 2 days with you, teaching you the elements and letting you practice life coaching to find out if it's something you really love and really enjoy and really want to do. And then of course we'll give you the details. So you can go to joshcoates.com/lifecoach. You can fill out the info to basically that's kind of like our little application process. And then we will email you an invite with a free ticket to our 2-day virtual event. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Mark, I appreciate you.
Likewise, brother.
I'll see you in 2 days via the podcast. But in real time, I guess I'll see you in like 2 seconds.
Let's go.
All right, friends. Don't forget to drop a review over on iTunes. Make sure and share where you are listening to this to your stories so I can reshare that to my stories. I love you. I believe in you. Everything you need is already living on the inside. And I'll see you soon.
This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in.